Elon Musk says it is difficult putting up AI data centers anywhere except China. Welcome back to USA Grid Mechanics, the channel where we break down the real forces shaping America's energy future. No spin, no jargon, just the facts. Today's topic hits right at the intersection of artificial intelligence and electrical infrastructure, and it's a story that should concern every American who cares about this country's competitive edge in the 21st century. Elon Musk, founder of Tesla, XAI, and SpaceX, has gone on record with a stark warning. The United States and the rest of the Western world are heading straight into what he's calling a hardware wall. Not a chip shortage, not a software bottleneck, a flat-out electricity crisis, and it's already slowing down the AI race before most people even realize the race has begun. Musk made these comments during a conversation with podcaster Dwarkesh Patel and Strite co-founder John Collison, and what he said deserves a very careful look from anyone paying attention to where the grid is headed. The core problem: chips are scaling, power isn't. Here's what Musk laid out in plain terms. The semiconductor industry is producing AI chips at an exponential rate. NVIDIA, AMD, and a growing list of competitors are shipping more GPU compute capacity every single quarter. Demand from hyperscalers, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Meta, is off the charts. Trillion-dollar companies are in a full sprint to build out AI infrastructure. But here's the problem nobody in Silicon Valley wants to say out loud. You cannot turn those chips on without electricity. And the electrical grid in the United States and across most of the Western world has not kept pace, not even close. According to data from the U.S. Energy Information Administration, total U.S. electricity generation has remained largely flat over the past decade, hovering around 4,000 terawatt-hours per year. Think about that, a decade of stagnation. Meanwhile, the International Energy Agency projects that global data center electricity consumption could more than double by 2026 compared to 2022 levels, largely driven by AI workloads. The math simply does not add up. Musk put it bluntly, the availability of energy is the issue. If you look at electrical output outside of China, it's more or less flat. Very slight increase, but pretty much flat. That is not a political statement. That is an engineering reality. Why China alone is winning the power race? So why is China the exception? Because China has been investing in generation capacity at a scale that Western nations have not matched. China added more new power generation capacity in 2023 alone than the entire installed generating capacity of Germany. According to the International Energy Agency, China accounted for roughly 60% of all new renewable energy capacity added globally in 2023. And critically, China is not just adding solar and wind, it is also continuing to build coal-fired generation to keep total output climbing while renewables scale up. That strategy has trade-offs from a climate perspective, but from a pure infrastructure standpoint, it means Chinese AI companies and data center operators have one enormous advantage. They can actually plug their servers in. Musk's question to Western tech firms was pointed. If you're putting data centers anywhere except China, where are you going to get your electricity, especially as you scale? How are you going to turn the chips on? Magical power sources? Magical electricity fairies? It sounds sarcastic, but the underlying concern is real. In the United States right now, the interconnection queue, the line of energy projects waiting for grid approval, stretches to over 2,700 gigawatts of capacity, according to Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory. Most of those projects will never get built. The permitting system is overwhelmed. Utilities are struggling to upgrade transmission lines fast enough.
And in many parts of the country, grid operators are already issuing warnings about tight capacity margins during peak summer demand. Regulatory red tape, the wall nobody wants to build. When Dwarkesh Patel asked the obvious follow-up, why don't tech companies just build massive solar farms to power their own data centers? Cover Nevada with panels. Problem solved. Musk's answer was sobering. Try getting the permissions for that. In the United States, a large-scale solar project can take anywhere from 5 to 10 years to move from initial application to actual power delivery, once you account for environmental review under the National Environmental Policy Act, state permitting, local opposition, and the interconnection queue we just mentioned. The Nevada desert may be full of sunlight, but it is also full of lawyers, bureaucrats, and competing land use interests. What Musk said next was striking for a different reason. It's harder to scale on land than it is in space. Space is really a regulatory play. Think about what that tells you. The founder of the world's most advanced private rocket company, a man who has put hundreds of Starlink satellites into orbit, is saying that getting permission to launch hardware into space is easier than getting permission to build a solar farm in a desert. That says a great deal about where American regulatory infrastructure stands right now. Beyond red tape, Musk also laid out the physics-based limitations of ground-level solar. Earth's atmosphere absorbs and scatters roughly 30% of incoming solar energy before it ever reaches a panel on the ground. Add in cloud cover, seasonal angle changes, and the simple fact that it gets dark at night, and you are looking at an average solar capacity factor in the United States of around 20 to 25%. That means a solar farm is only generating at its rated capacity about a fifth of the time. The rest of the time, you need backup power, which means either grid connection or battery storage. And grid-scale battery storage is still enormously expensive. Musk's prediction: AI moves to space within 30 to 36 months. This is where the conversation took a turn that most people in the energy and tech world have not fully absorbed yet. Musk's prediction: within the next 2.5 to 3 years, space will become the most economically viable location to operate AI infrastructure. Not a research project, not a long-term vision, a commercial reality within this decade. He laid out 3 reasons, each grounded in real physics and engineering. First, solar efficiency in orbit. A solar panel in low Earth orbit receives sunlight continuously with no atmospheric loss, no weather interference, and no nightfall, because you can orient an orbital platform to stay in sunlight as it circles the globe. The result, Musk argued, is roughly 5 times more power output from the same panel compared to ground-based installation. This tracks with what aerospace engineers have known for decades. It is precisely why spacecraft have used solar power since the early days of the space program. The International Space Station, for reference, generates about 215 kilowatts from its solar arrays, operating in that same continuous sunlight environment. Second, no battery overhead. One of the biggest hidden costs of running an AI data center on solar power on the ground is the requirement for massive battery backup systems to keep servers running through the night and through cloudy periods. Remove day-night cycles, and you remove that cost entirely. Orbital data centers, in theory, could operate on pure solar with no grid connection and no battery bank, dramatically simplifying the infrastructure and the economics. Third, lighter and cheaper solar hardware. On Earth, solar panels need to be built to survive decades of wind, rain, hail, temperature swings, and physical stress. That means heavy frames, thick protective glass, and robust mounting systems. In orbit, none of that applies. Space-grade solar cells can be built lighter and thinner, reducing launch mass, which directly reduces cost, as SpaceX continues to drive down the price per kilogram to orbit through the Starship program. What this means for the USA grid. Here at USA Grid Mechanics, we talk about energy infrastructure from an American perspective. Musk's warning is not just about Elon Musk and XAI. It is a structural indictment of where American energy policy and grid investments stand right now. If the United States cannot modernize its grid, streamline its permitting process, and dramatically expand electricity generation over the next few years, the most consequential technology race of the century, the AI race, will be decided not by which country has the best engineers or the most capital, but by which country can actually keep the lights on at scale. China understands this. That is why it is building generation capacity at a pace that dwarfs the rest of the world. The United States, by contrast, is watching trillion-dollar AI companies struggle to find enough power to run their next generation of data centers. And if Musk is right, if space-based AI infrastructure becomes viable within 36 months, the companies and countries that move first will define the next era of computing, just as those who built out the electrical grid in the early 20th century defined the industrial era that followed. The grid has always been the foundation of American power, in every sense of that word. The question right now is whether we are going to rebuild it fast enough to stay in the race. Stay with USA Grid Mechanics for more on that story. Subscribe if you haven't already, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Should the US government fast-track AI data center energy permitting as a matter of national security?